You're born not in a jungle canopy or nestled in your mother's arms, but in a stainless steel cage under flickering fluorescent lights. There are no leaves above your head, no soft fur of your troop around you, no jungle chorus at dawn, just metal bars, the sterile smell of disinfectant, and the muffled footsteps of lab techs walking down linoleum floors. Congratulations, you're a lab monkey. From the moment you open your eyes, you're cataloged. A tiny barcode is assigned to you like a name you'll never understand. Your weight is logged daily. Your body measurements are taken weekly. How long you sleep, how often you vocalize, even the way you tilt your head when confused. It's all noted. Sometimes you wonder if blinking too much will get documented. Probably. Your handlers call it baseline data collection. But what it really feels like is invasive curiosity turned into a full-time job. They record you so obsessively, it makes you wonder if privacy is something scientists only allow themselves. You're a baby primate being monitored more closely than most humans on national security watch lists. You don't stay with your mother. Most of you never meet her. For some, your first few weeks are spent in a nursery with other motherless infants. For others, especially those enrolled in early cognitive isolation studies, there is no interaction at all. You grow up knowing the touch of latex gloves instead of fur. Milk comes from bottles, not bodies. Comfort comes from heat lamps, not hugs. And the wild? The jungle? The idea of trees and rivers and open skies? That doesn't exist in your mind. You've never experienced nature, so this cold, bright cage is your normal. The sound of keys jingling means food. The person in the lab coat becomes your only constant. You don't call her mother, but in your little mind, she might be the closest thing. She looks different from you, moves differently, never grooms you or carries you, but she brings food. She watches over you. You don't know love, but you know her. You don't even question the limits of your world because you don't know there's a world to question. You think this cage, this room, this routine, that's all there is. You don't dream of escape because you don't know escape exists. You don't long for freedom because freedom was never introduced to your vocabulary. Your world is small, but for you, it's the whole universe. You weren't born to swing from trees or groom your siblings. You were born for observation, for testing, for experimentation. But now you're growing. You're getting stronger. And so the tests will change too. By the time you reach maturity, you are no longer the subject of simple observation. You are a full participant in the system now, part of a long list of scheduled trials, protocols, and metrics. Every phase of your development is monetized into a research objective. You begin with cognitive conditioning. Tasks become more complex. Color matching, pattern recognition, and object tracking. You're rewarded for speed and punished for hesitation. These aren't games, they're neural stress tests. And if you don't perform well, the record will reflect your declining response reliability. You're strapped into a restraint chair. Your head is held in place, your limbs restricted, screens flash, levers click, rewards drip from a tube. You press the correct sequence, you get a treat. Get it wrong, and the session repeats, again and again, until your cooperation is no longer conscious, it's mechanical. The neuroscience phase starts with surgery. They remove a piece of your skull and implant electrodes that read your brain activity. You're kept on sedatives until your system stabilizes, then tested daily. They measure decision-making, perception, even your reaction to your own reflection. Some monkeys stay wired up for months, others for years. You're also part of drug trials. 1 month, it's an anti-anxiety compound. The next, a stimulant, then a vaccine. Each test involves blood work, behavioral analysis, and sometimes induced illness to measure efficacy. You feel tired, agitated, cold, or dizzy, but no one checks on how you feel. They only note the symptoms. Your enclosure may shift to a social testing module. You're introduced to unfamiliar monkeys under artificial conditions. Sometimes you're dominant, sometimes you're submissive. They measure aggression, fear, cooperation. They medicate you and observe how that changes your behavior. Then there's the emotional deprivation unit. You're isolated for days. No sounds, no smells, no movement. Then suddenly, the world erupts. Lights flash, alarms blare, robotic figures appear at the window. The goal? Induce stress, and then test how long it takes you to recover. In between these trials are biometric evaluations, daily stool checks, weekly weight scans, heart rate logging, hormone sampling, urinalysis. Every part of your biology is under review. You are, in every sense, a walking research subject. And yet, not one result ever belongs to you. But you're still alive. You're still enduring. The researchers call you adaptive. You don't know what that means, but it keeps you here. And now your body's getting slower, your mind more compliant. And so you're approaching your final phase. Time passes differently now. You feel heavy. Your joints ache from years in small spaces. The reward levers are harder to press. The tests feel longer. The days feel quieter. You've become what they call a non-priority subject. Your final experiments are invasive. You undergo chronic implant monitoring, long-term device tests that push your body to its limits. Your mobility decreases. Your sedation periods increase. The researchers are focused on maximizing data while minimizing cost. The balance tips heavily toward extraction. You're placed under whole-body scanning. MRI machines, CT scans, neural mapping. Every organ, every joint, every system is reviewed, not to treat, but to map. You feel less like a monkey and more like a diagram. Some monkeys are reassigned to long-term behavioral observation. That means sitting in a barren cage, sometimes for months, with only food and silence. The only change is the occasional clipboard scribble as a student checks if you're still alive. If you're lucky, they speak softly. Most don't speak at all. You remember your companions, ones who used to groom you through the bars or whistle when food came. They're gone now. Their cages are cleaned and repopulated without pause. No one grieves, not even you. There's no time for grief here. The final record comes. You're transferred to a euthanasia chamber. Painless, they say, humane. But all you feel is the cold metal table and a sedative that spreads faster than thought. You close your eyes as a machine logs your vitals one last time. Your body is dissected for tissue samples. Brain sections are flash frozen. Blood drawn post-mortem. Slides are labeled. Organs weighed. Your body, once curious, learning, reacting, is reduced to parts. And still, no one says your name. Life as a lab monkey doesn't end with peace. It ends with paperwork. You came into this world monitored. You leave it measured. But maybe, just maybe, the next creature born into this system will be seen differently. Maybe one day, being alive will mean more than just being useful. Until then, check out the next video to meet another creature whose story is just as heartbreaking.